Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Coon. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. This podcast delves into the journeys of creative individuals who inspire curiosity and impact through their work. In this episode, we're revisiting a conversation from 2012 with Bruno Levy, a French-born, New York-based multidisciplinary artist whose work spans video, photography, music, painting, and drawing. Now, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories and makes me really happy. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, let's jump back into the past after I met Bruno at the Vimeo Awards in 2012. So here's our conversation. I met Bruno at the 2012 Vimeo Awards, where his project called SWEATSHOPPE won for a Captured Live category. Really unique, artistic, creative video that we'll explain more in the episode. But I met Bruno and his creative partner, Blake Shaw, which I was unable to get for this podcast. When we talked at the Vimeo Awards, we really created an instant friendship. I don't know, we went out, we hung out, we had a really good time in the city. I guess you go out in the city with some creative people, you're always going to have a good time. And instantly bonded, and this is a really cool, fun episode. He works in a different realm that I am unfamiliar with, but I'm a huge fan, and I want to peek into his brain and figure out how the hell does he come up with this stuff. Now, Bruno, he was born in Paris in '79, but he completed a BFA in photography at the Tisch School of Arts at NYU in 2001. Today, he works in diverse mediums that range from video, photography, music, painting, drawing, and tattooing. This is my conversation with Bruno Levy.
What have you been working on? What have you been doing?
We're still working on off and off, and we have two more episodes to do, and it's been taking us forever because we're just not motivated anymore. I mean, honestly, once Tim passed away, it's really hard to.
Yeah, really.
But
I can imagine.
But Blake, he's actually working on another web series, working for this thing. He created, I wouldn't even say a company, but this web YouTube channel called Distractatron. And basically it's like a bunch of cosplay videos where he goes out and interviews these, I guess they're popular in their own community, cosplayers that dress up as Star Wars figure or, Star Wars.
Yeah.
So he's doing that, and they're also doing some funny bits over there. And he's starting to get a lot of traffic starting to do that, but I'm like, I can't be a part of it. I'm down in South Carolina. He's in North Carolina. But I also want to start doing something on artists locally.
Okay.
And then eventually grow to probably, wherever I can. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't see any money coming from it. But if it gets a lot of attention, because I really want to shoot it differently and almost to the art. Like, it depends on the artist. But I don't want to show too much of the artist actually talking. Like, I want to kind of get away from the talking heads. But it's going to be mostly all B-roll of either their artwork or them working on their art and things that they're talking about. So I want to really challenge myself. But Charleston's a great place to do it. There's so many good artists around here. It's ridiculous. So
have you been getting good feedback at all from like Vimeo Awards? Is it like trickled like much or anything or
no trickle down? No trickle down.
Really? Yeah, for us it's been like really quite good actually. We've gotten a lot of commercial. I think it's because like we kind of had this product in a sense.
Yes.
So it's like, it gave enough like sort of plays online that people got to see it, and I guess like people that we've been doing more events and stuff, and been asked to screen it at a couple other little festivals and stuff. Nothing really that great, but yeah, there's been sort of an influx of stuff that's come from it. So I'm surprised to hear that you haven't really gotten anything.
I think our category is kind of. When someone wins Best Web Series, you hear about it, but you don't know exactly what the web series is. It could be about anything. A lot of the different people that submitted the finalists, a couple of them were really abstract, kind of like different places. So there was no real narrative besides the place itself. Then it had, and ours was documentary. You know, we actually have, that's a big documentary we cut up and put into that. So when people hear we won best web series, if they don't look at what kind of web series it was, you know, what's the point?
Right.
But
right.
and that's the thing with like you got, what was the category? It was experimental, right?
It's captured. Well, it was like the art. Yeah. Which is like the art thingy. But I think it's more like, sort of reblogging of the video that really, you know, because it's like a 3-minute video that people can look at like 30 seconds of and be like, oh, I get this. And that works well online, you know, because when you have to look at something or invest more than 2 minutes of your time, it just ends up being like a commitment, I guess.
It's also an emotional commitment. I mean,
it's like marriage.
But I mean, yours was so.
In your case.
Yours was so fun to watch because right off the bat, you're like, that's different. You know, what's going on, how they doing it, and the music you use, even how you guys suit up. It's just so, I've never seen anything like that before. And then when I had the chance to meet you guys before the actual awards, and we were talking about, you're talking about how you had the brushes. Explain how you did what you did and the project that won you a Vimeo Award.
Oh, so now we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it.
Really? Oh, cool! I didn't even realize.
Yes,
that's the great part.
Yeah.
So the project is basically a collaboration between me and my partner Blake Shaw, who wrote a piece of software when he was 20 years old and studying new media arts at Bennington to allow motion tracking of LEDs. So we basically implemented these LEDs inside paint rollers, and using projectors and this software combined created a way to paint video or create the illusion that we paint videos. So this video from Vimeo basically was of us going around different places in Europe and painting videos onto walls in mostly like urban industrial settings.
Now, the cool thing was, like, the projector, you did not, at first, what was projected when you first turned it on? Was there nothing, and then while you painted, that's when it came on?
Right, exactly. So, now the contrast ratios on projectors are high enough that when you project black, you pretty much not see any light or anything. So it doesn't appear like there's any projection. And then as soon as we start painting, then you start seeing these strokes of video. And we really try to make videos, especially in this case of documentation, that are really bright and vibrant and colorful, so that there's a huge contrast between the wall and the projection. And it really appears to be a layer of something. You know, we get like a lot of, now not as much, but when we first released our initial video, we would get so many sort of emails about, well, of course, how does this work? How is this happening? Blah, 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 blah. But like, are you guys, a lot of people thought we were using paint and then using, post-production and layering, thing of video in the paint, or somehow using paint to reveal the projection. I mean, there's, a lot of confusion usually with the video, because it's not so, I guess that's the thing for us. It's the magic that it creates, that kind of moment of how does it work, and the illusion behind it is interesting.
Well, the interesting thing was, after you paint that first, when when the images first come up, then you go back over it and paint another layer on top of the first one. And that's right. That's where it gets me, I guess. Obviously you have one layer when you have the black, and then you paint on top of that with and then again.
Yeah, actually, black is not a layer. It's
okay.
just, the absence of sort of a signal going through, I think, in this case. We have, you can paint. I mean, Blake wrote the software. Initially it was just to do one layer, and then we discussed about, how do we make this interesting for us initially? Because basically the way it works for us is we push a button on paint roller, and it turns the light on, and then it tracks it. So really, there's not much creatively we can do besides, playing with the architecture of a building or something that site specific as far as the imagery. All the imagery was pre-created. So in order for us to sort of interact with it or have it be more dynamic, we thought about layering and how we could like create more video collages, so we can choose different layers of video and layer them together and create new videos, I guess.
Now, it just the painting, that's not just by itself. It's not like you paint an image. Explain the video that you actually paint on there, because it's very abstract and it's different. And it just, if you could explain that'd be
the content that we're projecting or that we're painting on, or
the content that you're projecting.
I mean, a lot of it, there's a couple, I think in that video, there's a couple of things that are architecturally specific. So there's a couple of things that are like window frames or doors, where we alter the bricks and make them look like they're popping out, which is fairly inspired by a lot of projection mapping that we had seen, mostly like groups like Anti-VJ and stuff that are like really doing crazy things with architecture and projection and really manipulating, I guess, the building live or with projection. I think so. There's some of that which we're really interested in, utilizing projection to alter architecture, and then there's a lot of brighter, kind of campier footage. I think when Blake and I came up with Sweatshop, there's always kind of a campy joke behind it of, the idea of what Sweatshop was to the outside world. So it was like we wear masks and we're into popsicles because it's hot, so you sweat, so you want to cool yourself down with popsicle, and it's phallic, and there's all these, it's I guess there was a big internal joke in it for us. So we have like images, like I was in Namibia and shot, a kid from some tribe, and we put a little popsicle in his hand and made it like kind of campy. It's like, oh, this kid looks like he needs a popsicle, or a woman wearing a burqa wearing a popsicle. And Blake and I used to do these. We do these performances, and sometimes at these festivals, and we sort of enter this whole kind of comedy routine behind these images where we paint the woman in the burqa, or someone would paint, as sometimes it's interactive, and we'd make these kind of jokes like, how do you eat the popsicle? How can she eat it? Is she hot? Just very campy and childish, I guess, in some weird way.
And
I think
people love it.
Yeah, people like it. It's a way for us to like have fun through the work experience, I guess, or through having to work all the time. But I think we're kind of trying to shift away from that like sort of joke aspect, because it's not as fun for us anymore as far as like that, it's like how much can we explore that? We're trying to make things a little bit more serious, and integrating cameras and stuff so that we can capture things in real time and paint them directly and sort of, yeah.
Well, you also, both of you dress up as well. Like you dress up in sweatshops. I mean, it like these suits, and you put masks on. I mean, it's a whole event. Like it's not just one thing you're projecting and painting. You're also it's this whole thing. Like, why did you guys decide to do that?
So initially, Sweatshop started, and video painting came from an audio-visual set. We wanted to create sort of a immersive installation that would travel and be a concert of sorts, where you'd have maybe an hour of music and all these different interactive things would happen, and it would be like an interactive performance based around music and sound and all these things. And we like the idea of concealing our identity. So the mask really came from, we don't want people to associate what we're doing to who we are or how we look, on a very basic thing. And then it's the idea, I guess, of creating a character and creating like a world for these characters to inhabit, and and you disassociate that more from, this is Bruno and this is what he looks like and this is where he lives, and so I think that was the sort of the impetus behind the mask.
Nice. So when you're doing this on the street, when you did it for the that video you put on Vimeo, Did you do it for an audience, or just like you just went on the street? You're like, let's put it here. You had specific places that you wanted to do that at.
No, we usually, I mean, sometimes we do specific places. In this video, we were touring Europe to do different audiovisual sets. So in every city that we're in, we try to paint video. And it was mostly us driving around in a car and looking for locations. And when we saw a good location, we just pulled up. I mean, we wanted to get the Berlin Wall when we're in Berlin because it seemed like a thing to do, or, you know, get at least like a piece of recognizable architecture in Paris and things like that. Wanted to go to Bristol because of, you know, sort of the history of street art that, you know, Banksy and all these kind of tribute in some way. But yeah, I mean, I think the video or the documentation of the performance is as important for us as the performance. So there's places where we painted video, even during the video, where you see like crowds of people gather. Because sometimes, yeah, we'll paint anywhere and people are walking by. But it's almost like, in some ways, it's more about us wanting to see video painting happen in these locations or on this building, or being inspired by that and being like, oh, that's a really interesting place. Let's do it here. And sometimes there's nobody around. No one will see it except for the documentation of it.
So let's go back just a little bit. I'm just curious. I was reading up on you. Not anymore, because your site, for some reason, says error establishing a database what is that? Connection. Yeah.
That's awesome to know. Let me look it up. It's great. Sweatshop.org.
No, not the Sweatshop. Bruno Levy.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Horrible.
And it was weird because I was looking at it earlier today. Oh
my God. Okay, that's great.
So you were born and raised in Paris, France?
Yes.
And how did you become, or when did you come over to the States?
So I moved to Los Angeles when I was 7 years old. Who got an MBA from Claremont, and then I moved back to Paris, and then I moved to Chicago during junior high school. I think it was the 8th grade, and then I stayed into Chicago through high school and moved to New York to go to NYU in 1997.
So how was NYU?
It was a lot of fun. I think I was one of those people that when I was done with high school, I think I was done with school. And even before high school, I thought about getting a GED and just stopping. It just seemed like a waste of time and money and energy. And I think I studied photography at NYU, and I think I was ready to get real feedback in some way. Like I was tired of making things and putting them in a box and putting them under my desk, and then having people, you know, decide whether they're good or bad by whether or not they're friends with me. Because, you know, that's what happens in like these crits in art school. It's like by your junior year, you know everybody and you know whether you like them or not. And, you know, you sit down and somebody shows their picture and it sucks. But because they're friends with so-and-so, so it's like, oh, I like it, you know. I think I spent money to do that, which kind of sucks. I think like if I equated, like, you know, taken all that money and invested it in something, I think it would have been, I don't know. I've never, ever, ever had to use my college degree for anything. I mean, I've never been like, oh, I went to this school and got a degree. Like, it's
not
never
even connections? Not even connections at NYU?
Yeah. I mean, friends. I mean, for some, like, I've never really had a specific kind of person that I hang out with. So most of my friends, you know, are doing, you know, completely different things than I do. So there's no, one of them is an investment banker. The other one like works for urban planning and development in LA. You know, it's just all over the board, but none of them really, yeah.
Because, yeah, I went to a small liberal arts school, University of North Carolina in Greensboro, and like our connections there are none. Like we have no connections in the field. And I talked to some people when I worked on a reality show a couple times. Like they all came from California, They all went to small liberal arts schools out there, but they had this network that was ridiculous. Like they were like, yeah, this show got canceled, but my friends started working over here, so we got another show. Blah 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 blah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, initially, I'm trying to think. Strangely enough, like we've gotten most of at least the sweatshop work from the internet. I mean, it's really nice because a lot of work usually comes because of who you know,
right.
And it's to have work because of what you do. And I think that's one of the greatest things about the internet is you can do something and it's not associated to you, but it's existing in this world that can bring you something back. And I mean, that's definitely been the case. And, you know, for me and like my sort of professional careers, most of everything has come from putting things online.
That's that's the way to go.
Exception of meeting someone in the bar and having them give you a couple $100,000 to.
Wait, what bar do you hang out?
Joking.
I was like, wait a minute, you talking about me? Because we met at a bar.
Still going to the bars, but that's not happening.
Yeah, it's so. All right, so how did you and Blake connect?
We actually met in Nepal. I was living in Nepal for about 3.5 years. I moved there to initially teach English in a monastery, and then ended up doing a Tibetan Buddhist practice that took a year or so. And I ended up opening up a restaurant through sort of this weird progression of things. And so I had a little restaurant that turned into a bar, and Blake came and was really into it because it was a small little place, but it was very, very open in the sense that, you know, we had art on all the walls. We played Western music. There was a group of people that used to gather every night, and it would just be every night it was a different either performance or something, and just having guitars and things on the walls and people to play with. And we were teaching art classes and all these things. So Blake was really into it and was like, oh, I'm a DJ. I want to DJ at your bar. Let's do a party together. So we threw a minimal techno party in Kathmandu together in this tiny, I mean, the bar was the size, probably smaller, I mean, than the bedroom that I'm seeing in the back of you. I mean, it was pretty tiny place. We had like 25 people and we couldn't move.
Nice.
But it was, so we met there, and then I was working, when I moved back to New York, we kept in touch, and I was working with a friend of mine, developing an audio-visual set, and Blake was sending me all these kind of patches that he had been making, these little like, oh, look, you can like put your video in here and make it do this or do that. So I thought, okay, I'm kind of been living in Asia for 4 years. I'm a little out of touch with what's going on from like a technology and all these different points of view. So I brought Blake along as, you know, the third person that was really key in this thing. But then the musician dropped out because he became too busy. So Blake and I were like, okay, let's make something happen. And we just started working together.
God, that's awesome. So you're just like a doer. You don't even talk about it. You're actually in the middle of doing something when you think about it.
I wish that was the case. I mean, there's lots of things that I don't get to do but usually they have to do with financial sort of, because I don't have the money to do them. Versus, you know, yeah, I mean, I think that makes a huge difference between a successful artist and an unsuccessful is everybody has ideas, or at least so many people I meet have amazing ideas, but then you actually have to do them. It's, you know, you have to do them. It's work. And a lot of people stop at, I think mostly not even the aspect that they don't want to work, but I think the fear of it not being successful. And that happens to me. Sometimes I have ideas for projects. I'm like, oh, this is like a great project, but it's going to cost, you know, some money because everything ends up costing money. And do I really think people are going to like it, or no, it sounds like it's not going to, you know, and I stop myself before I even begin to make anything. And then, yeah.
What kind of pressure do you feel from after winning the Vimeo Award and putting up something, you know, your next thing on Vimeo?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of pressure, actually, interestingly enough, because I feel like, well, Sweatshop, you know, is a collaboration between Blake and I, and we created this project together, but we're pretty much only working on this project together. So we both are working on things independently. So we're going to create something independently. And my field, on a personal thing is more straight video, or I guess you'd say like video installations and things like that. But I'm not a programmer. I don't do interactive art. I could work with somebody else to do that, as I have a couple ideas. But for the most part, it's going to be something completely different than the last video, that people saw. So to respond to that with something that's completely offshoot, and I don't know, it's a gamble, but
that's the thing. It's like but
so
we haven't posted anything yet. It was just, we're kind of sitting there waiting, going like, is it worthy?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm working on a couple of things. So I bought a microscope, and I've been shooting crystals forming under a microscope that I'm planning for like a 3-panel kind of installation thing, and it's really, really awesome. I'm really psyched about the way it looks.
Oh man, that sounds awesome.
I want to keep that for the sort of post Vimeo Award video, or use it for my own sort of process to eventually make this video.
Well, that's the thing, is like when you get the money, what are you going to use that money for, or what's the next project that you're going to show? Say, this is, the Vimeo Award grant.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the Yeah, I had some ideas. I had another idea. I wanted to go shoot there's a nomadic tribes between Burma and Thailand in the Miek archipelago that basically live, on boats and have been living in the ocean their entire lives, but are now starting to settle on land, and it's a necessity that's being lost. But through the years, they've developed sort of a different thing over their cornea or their iris, so they can see underwater and they can hold their breaths for long times underwater, and this and that. And I have lots of friends that are doing work with them, so I have an in to go and maybe do something there, and but which is more documentary-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I was thinking, I could use my grant to do that, because it wouldn't cost me so much to fly to Thailand and then live on a boat with these people. But I haven't. Yeah, I have like a couple ideas, and I haven't figured out which one I'm going to go for. But I want it to be big enough that it's worth taking a notice, I guess.
Yeah, we've already shot a bunch of stuff. We started shooting when you asked me earlier. I completely forgot about it. This is how bad I am. We're doing something on burlesque.
Wow.
There's this troupe from Greensboro, and it's pretty cool. Like these ladies, they are not like your, if you ever saw them, you wouldn't. They're not like the sexiest women there are, but they have this passion about like empowering themselves, and they love what they do, the craft, the art, the performance art, the tease, and they do it anywhere. Like they'll go to a bookstore and just go up on, the edge or a cliff, and they'll do their act there, or they'll do it in a theater, they'll do it in a bar. They don't care, but it's pretty cool. Like some of the stories that these ladies have, like it's all like, I mean, women are going to dig it. Men are going to be like, I want to see the boobs,
Right.
And hopefully we'll be able to show the pasties. I mean, Vimeo, you see full nudity on Vimeo.
Right.
But we're not going to get that. It's more about like empowering. And we followed them down to New Orleans a couple weeks ago, and that was a lot of fun, although it wasn't as big and spectacular as we thought it was going to be.
Right.
So I want to get them on a stage, and we're going to do some macro shooting, some slow-mo, and get them to do some really sexy teases, and so we could show that on top of that. But
get people to actually watch the real content of the video, right?
Right, exactly. So it should be interesting, but at the same time, we don't really know where it's gonna go. It's probably going to be a 3 to 5 episode web series.
Right. Cool.
But it's probably not going to be our best stuff, which is a shame, because just like you're saying, Blake is there and you're here.
Right.
My Blake, he's up in North Carolina. I'm in South Carolina, so we have that problem where we're not communicating on the same level like we used to, where we were just like in sync, and like I would show up and we'd just start getting on it, you know, or he would come over, boom. So it's a lot different now.
Oh, we should have the Blakes meet.
That'd be funny. Yeah, I wanted Blake to get up there so bad, man. We had so much fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I hope next year will be. I don't even know. Is it every year? Is it every
2014.
2014. Yeah, so we have a while. It's
Yes.
a thing. Yeah.
But you know, for us, a while, that means we're going to wait until the last couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So-
That's good. I mean, I feel like I don't know. It's weird. Like with any creative process or any sort of craft, you just get better. I don't know. You evolve so much that, you know, in a year might be doing something way more interesting than, or you hope so at least.
That's true. That's very true. Like I totally want to get away from what we did with Often Awesome. You know, the sit down interview, then B-roll. Like I really want to tell a story visually and do something more creative. So I don't even know how we're going to tell this story. So we're just going to have to sit down during a weekend and just figure it out.
Probably 2014.
Yeah, not bad.
Cool.
So what about, talk a little bit about your art. I've noticed some on your website, but also it's right behind you too. Like your passion with art. Where'd that come from?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked to draw, I guess, from, you know, a child. And then I think I got really into photography in high school because I was better at it than drawing, in the sense that people recognized it and were like, oh, these are great photos, and my drawings were my drawings. So somehow decided to pursue that. I mean, it's, you know, and then photography to me didn't have as much of a process. I think I like losing myself to a process of creating versus take like the whole I push this button and it's over just seemed like it was too short a process for me, especially at the time that, you know, I was studying photography. It was analog, so there's still like so many factors that made it, I guess there's lots of factors of chance in there. So, you know, shoot something and you never really know what you get, and then you get something, and there's a element of control that was missing for me. So I started doing video, which is a lot longer of a process. You know, it's behind the computer for a while. But yeah, I've always liked to paint and draw and sort of do all these different things. I actually prefer to, and tried sort of going back to painting numerous times as more of a full-time, okay, I'm just going to paint and draw because I prefer that than sitting behind my laptop and having back pain and, you know, just having all the sort of problems of working in an office, even though you're an artist. So, but yeah, for some reason, I think I can't really express what I want to express or what's interesting to me with painting. So I always go back to video and sound, and kind of the combination of those two and how they can really evoke an emotion or sort of mental state. I think I'm a little bit more aware of how these things work than with painting, which is, you know, flat, still image. I can only have one thing, so it's like having many things.
So what would you consider success?
I think, I mean, success as an artist or success in general?
Actually, that's a good question. I would say probably as a profession, you know.
As a profession? Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess my own personal idea of success, or what I want, is to be able to keep doing what I love to do. So, you know, whether that's my lifestyle or my profession or all these things combined, you know, if I can create something and it financially giving me enough to keep making things, and yeah, I think that's success in some way. But, you know, I think I mean, winning an award or getting all these things, it's also a level of success. I think there's many different layers and levels to where we want to be. We'll never really get there, which is what makes us keep going too.
So talk about what you did, the kind of, bounce back you got from winning a Vimeo Award.
Yeah, I mean, we got lots of work. I mean, not lots and lots of work, but we've gotten lots of inquiries for work and some work, since what we do can have a commercial appeal. Initially, when Blake and I started working together for the first 2 years, we did not do any commercial work. We were very opposed to it. We just wanted to make art and sort of utilize this to, to express ourselves. And
you're smoking a lot of dope then.
I think, yeah, probably. I was supplying. Yeah, it was also, we were doing enough, like there's enough art festivals and sort of fairs and things to keep us going, that we're getting paid just to do exactly what we wanted to do. But I guess after 2 years of doing that, we explored more or less what we wanted from it. So we started becoming open to, using it for commercial events or advertising or guerrilla marketing kind of campaigns and all these things. So there's been, definitely an influx of emails and inquiries about doing gigs, but we've also gotten more sort of press, or lots of press, from a couple of television stations and morning shows, and then other sort of web blog kind of things and newspapers. And yeah, it's been really good. We've gotten definitely it's been a sort of reigniting the flame of something that is kind of on its, we with technology and new media, when you create something, you think it has a shelf life. And with video painting, Blake and I assumed that, okay, we've been doing this for 2 years. People aren't really interested anymore. I mean, new media art is developing and changing so rapidly that, people are doing really cool, amazing things now. And we didn't think that this would live this long, but it's kind of been like a flame in the fire, however you say it. That, it's been really good.
Well, this is something interesting because, you have such a unique, different, video or talent, or even kind of, business, or what you do. How do people find that? And also, how did you approach people to know, like you're saying, these festivals found you?
Right, yeah. Like everybody, I mean, we haven't approached, probably to our lack of, I don't know why, we've never really approached people and, hey, we have this product, it would work really well for you. It's been people that have approached us, and it's been, everything's usually based around something they read online. So we had an article in The Atlantic, which is this newspaper from Boston, or from Cambridge, that was started by Emerson, I think, or one of those old school guys. And I guess a lot of people read it. So that was a thing that kind of got us an influx of emails. Trying to think of other specific things, but it's usually, we get something, on some major blog, and somebody reads it and then hits us up and says, oh, really like what you do. This is what we're doing. Can this be done? How does it work? And then we kind of start a conversation from there.
Because that's one thing that I've talked to a lot of filmmakers. They have a problem. I wouldn't say a problem, but they just don't have the ability of being like outgoing as far as like social media or advertising themselves. It's like one of the hardest things that we have as far as like being artists. I'm the same way. I have no shame. I'll go up and be like, we could do this for you. We could do that. But as far as like getting qualified leads or even getting in front of the right people, I think what you said has a lot to say about the internet and what people are blogging about, what posting about, what they're specifically looking for. So
right. In some way, like the initial video that we made with video painting, and even this secondary video, when we're documenting it and we're conscious that it's being put online, I wouldn't say we're creating a commercial, because it becomes more than that. But there is this idea of, oh, we're going to create this piece and then be able to show people what we do. So in this, in this case, our first video that we ever made, Blake and I came up with video painting, and I needed to make some sort of money or do something with it. So I was like, we have to shoot a video, and I'll send it around and see if people pick it up. First I'll send it to friends, and I'll hire, a friend of mine, give them like $100 to do some PR for us or whatever, very, small PR push. We made this, we made this video, and we had just hadn't really perfected video painting or knew what we were doing with it. Sent it to Wooster Collective, which is a street art blog. They put it up, and in 5 hours, I think we got 30,000 views. And, in 3 days, we had 100,000 views or something. But and then 4 days later, it was like, oh, do you guys want to come to this art fair? Oh, do you guys want to perform in the Standard in Miami? Oh, do you guys want to do, and it just picked up literally like 3 days later, and we were not ready at all. But in some way, the reaching out to people was, more about creating a piece and trying to get people to notice it and trying to do something that was interesting. I think that's the way, of the power of the internet, but also instead of knocking on people's door, you try to create something that people can see.
Yeah. And
hard time is sometimes getting it seen. I mean, I have videos I've worked 3 months on that have like 40 views. It's crazy. And these little things that you do that you think are shit, and they get, lots of attention. So I don't know.
I mean, as far as what we did with Often Awesome, the series, is like, we did that basically because we wanted to do that for Tim. Like, we didn't plan to make a TV show or even a documentary. And that's something that, moving forward, if we're going to do something that big, we need to think about doing something like that. But
better values than me.
What's that?
You're like, I wanted to do it for like Tim, and I was like, yeah, you have better values than me. I'm just like, I just want to show my art.
No, that's my art, is like storytelling and sharing. I mean, that's how I roll it. When I see, products or videos that you put out and a lot of other artists put out there, I don't think in that realm. So I watch it, I'm in awe. I'm just like, wow, that's so cool. And that's why I like talking with you at, Vimeo Awards and everything else, because I don't share that same kind of capacity of thinking. Although some way we do.
Well, yeah, because I'm the same, like, with this documentary that I want to shoot. It's like, I don't know how to tell a story. I've never, I know how to tell a story, but exactly what you said, I know how to tell a story with video and sound. But when it comes to dialogue or like that concept of like narration and putting things together in a specific way, it's like, I mean, it's nothing I've really practiced, if anything. So it's I guess ways of thinking.
It's hard, and one of the things I wish we did more in the series was, I mean, we had pretty much like talking head back to back to back to back, so there's hardly any breathing space because we're trying to tell that story as short as possible each episode. So there wasn't any like breathing or kind of like feeling it. It was just information. What we did with Often Awesome, it's not something that the masses are going to go out there and watch. As much as we want people to know about ALS and ALS awareness, people are not going to share us and go like, hey, you got to see this. You'll drag you to tears, But
right.
It's something that's going to be on the internet forever. And people are going to continue to get ALS or continue to know people that get ALS. And it's going to be a vehicle that will continue to grow through the years because, people can associate themselves and learn from it. So that's one of the positive things we learned from doing this. We don't have that many hits right now, even after winning the award. But we see it, every now and then it'll come up and it'll go down, it'll come up. So it'll have its life on there, and primarily that's what we did, for Tim.
Yeah, no, I think that's also the thing, is you make it live forever and you give it a public, even if it's, through its longevity, you never know what can happen and who it can reach.
And what you're saying about the art thing, and that's, remember I mentioned that might be something I'm interested in doing moving forward, doing like an art web series down here in Charleston. That's what you're saying. Museums are contacting you, art festivals are contacting you, and that's kind of where my thinking is. Like, art is a global, passion, no matter where you are. And if we do an amazing web series, next time someone does an event, they want it covered, they may be like, hey.
Yeah, definitely.
And plus,
but art doesn't pay unless you're really famous artist.
yeah, I've noticed that. But
there's not so many levels. It's either you're starving or you're like doing really well, but in between you're just starving.
How you doing?
I'm okay today. Like today was okay. Last week was great.
Is this like a daily thing? You guys checking on you?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's money. Like, yeah. I mean, I had like 2 really, really slow, horrible years. Now this sweatshop thing taking off again, making money from that. But it's kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, I know I'm making money this month, but it could be because it's before like the holidays. So there's a couple events, a couple things happening, and then it's going to dry down till spring. And then maybe there'll be a couple more things, or maybe by that time people will have forgotten about what just happened 3 months ago and there'll be something new, So yeah, it's definitely a very day-to-day thing for me, which I'm trying to get past, but by doing way too many things. So there's always something going on.
That's what my next question was going to be. How do you deal with that kind of stress? Like,
I beat my girlfriend. Shit. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of, I think I don't deal with it very well. I mean, I'm always contemplating whether I'm doing the right thing, whether like I should do something else. I pretty much hate everything that I make. I think it's like one of those like artistic things where it's just not what you intend, like you intended, not what you imagined in your mind. You see all the flaws, you want to make it again, you want to make it better. But you're so invested in that and what because when I make something, that's all I do, and I'm working on it all the time. And I try to put as much of myself in there. And then in the end, I'm always dissatisfied. So I feel like it takes this part of me with it. And then when you don't get anything in return, when you do that and you hate it, but everybody else loves it, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should do another one. But when you do it and you do it and you do it and you get absolutely no response, you start to question what the hell you're doing. And that, that happens to me. And then something happens, right at that brink moment where, I mean, there's really nothing else I can do. That's the problem. I mean, there's many other things I can do, like physically or mentally or intellectually, but there's nothing that I can morally do. Like, I couldn't really, I always compute work, or life as this very like short thing that we have, and my work in relation to that. So it's like, could I really spend 3/4 of my life just to make money? No. How much is this worth of my life? If I get a job and it really sucks and it doesn't pay, and I compute it to, oh, this is going to be a month of my life and this is what I'm getting in return, not worth it. So there's not much behind, like, besides making art that I guess I value enough to really devote and spend so much time doing.
So if someone came out there, they go, "We love your art, we love your work, we want you in some kind of capacity." What is like a dream job for you besides working on your own, what you do right now?
Like a job? I mean, I guess like for me, I think more about like creating pieces that ideally would be shown in spaces, and like if I can generate income either selling the pieces themselves or selling products of the pieces, whatever I mean, I like the idea of making whatever I want to make, and showing that versus having a specific client come and be like, oh, this is my idea, and can you do this or can you do that? But both have their restrictions, because I've been creating videos for I don't know, for a while, like maybe 15 years or something. And it's really hard because I've always been doing projection and kind of these things that aren't physical objects. So you can't really buy them. So it creates this weird tension with the art market, because I want to, let's say, create art that lives within the art market, but the art market is about selling objects. And so you're creating, for the most part, unless you're at a museum level or at a very high kind of established level, nobody's going to buy, a 5 projector immersive installation for their house, unless you're a really big artist and then people want to collect you. So there's this weird kind of thing of, I want to create whatever I want to create, but if there's nothing to buy, no one wants to show it. But then if I'm just selling something, then why don't I just sell myself and work, on a job-to-job basis? So, there's a lot of, I guess I do enough things that I feel like there's a balance. I shoot sort of my own, commercial things for like video lookbooks or music videos and all these things. That brings some sort of money, and then I try to do the art thing, which brings no money, and then I do things, which is kind of in between, where I'm able to be creative and make money, and started this sort of online magazine thing, which right now makes no money, but maybe eventually make money. But I try to just spread out as much as possible and do as many things as possible.
Well, cool. I remember the one thing that you said, there are a lot of things on that weekend with the Vimeo Awards that you said that were fun. But the one thing that stuck with me is when you go, why don't we take our money and create a group called the Winners?
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea, just to gather all the skills. And it's, when you're in a room with a bunch of really, really talented people, it's kind of seems like a good idea to all get together and make something. I like that. I like the idea of collaboration and working with people. It also helps you get past that initial fear of oneself and what you can accomplish by yourself, and kind of gives you someone that can tell you yes or no. And so having, 10 winners or 11 winners or however, was it 12? How many videos?
Yeah, there's 12 categories and then one big winner.
So yeah, I thought that was a good, and that would have been, like almost $100,000 to start a company.
And it wouldn't even be like, you're talking about just like a shield or an infrastructure to put out there to the world to bring people in,
Right. Right. It's like the idea of, sort of like creating agencies for artists and stuff. I think a lot of people that get work in commercial kind of outlets are usually represented by an agency or someone, especially when it comes to like commercial video making. So the idea of creating your own agency of people that you like and, feel like they're doing compelling, cool work seems like a good way to spread the love that comes in, I guess, or something.
Now, I thought it was brilliant, because as a marketing standpoint, it's like, first of all, even if you call it the winners or whatever, award winners, whatever you want to call it, you're basically telling the business community, like, we have the best of the best. And
right.
In the real world, I know I'm not even close to being the best, but I'll take it. I'll take it. But and then so people are going to automatically start coming there, and then they can pick and choose who they want to work with, or whatever best person they can work with, and anybody that doesn't want to be a part or whatever that means, they could continue doing their own things, and then when people come and call and say, we have this project, do you want to be a part of it? It's just like, continue doing what you are doing right now, but let's consider grouping together and trying this out so that we can, bring more work to everybody involved.
Well, yeah, because someone who might stumble across my video but not have any application for it might stumble across somebody else's video and be like, oh, we're looking for. Yeah, I think it was in a Drunken Super, the karaoke bar, that I probably said.
Dude, that night was so fun. And I bailed out on you guys, what, 4:35 in the morning?
Yeah, early night for you.
And you guys continued till 7?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not every day that you win, or at least that I win. So I have to.
No, it's not for us either.
When I first started working, I gained an okay level of success in the sense that like people were respecting my work, and I was getting, press and couple awards and video festivals, but it was never enough for me. I always thought like, oh, that's not what I want. I want to be, here. I want to do this, or I want to do that, or oh, that's just a little tiny festival. Who gives a shit? And now I'm really learned to celebrate all those little moments, and at least make it like a forceful thing. Like, my joke is always like champagne. It's like I don't even really like champagne, but the idea of like stopping and celebrating your own success, I think, is really important. Because or else you just keep going and going, and you're never really, really going to be where you want to be unless when you do, you stop, right? So if you're going on, it means you're not satisfied some way.
And that's kind of what it's very morbid, but I told somebody, I said, if I died right now, I feel like I've done enough of my life to be proud of. And it's not like I won or got a lot of money or anything else, but like just substantially, I feel like I've done enough that I would be like, well, if someone's going to die in this room, take her because she's a bitch. But, ladies first. No, just kidding. But I gotta, I'm fine with it. I've done I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. And I won a Vimeo Award, which I think is probably the best award that I could possibly ever win. Like,
yeah, me too. I mean, that's how I feel about it. But yeah, I mean, there's still more, right? I mean, for me,
there's more.
It's always, yeah. I mean, it's like if I had to stop right now, I'd be satisfied. And I mean, I guess it's a way of, that you choose to live your life anyways. I think when you're aware of your mortality, which we try not to be, but when you are, you live your life in a certain way that you try to enjoy it as much as possible and do everything that you want so that, if it was to end, you could look back and be like, cool, enough. Like, I mean, at some point you're going to have to say that anyways, right? If you even get the chance to, like, it'll come that time. So
it's so weird. Just, figure this. All right. So I come back from New York and I'm just like, yeah. And I don't have too many friends in Charleston just because I moved here and I'm at an age where I don't go out to bars anymore. And
right.
I don't like all these college sports. It's just, I'm in a weird fucking place in my life where it's hard to meet people. Everyone at work is married or engaged. So it's just like they have their own lives. I get along great with a lot of people. So I come back here, I'm all jacked up, come back to work, and they celebrate with me. It was really cool. But then it's just like, you're on your own again. And it's like, fuck, the party's over. It's like, damn it, man. And I so want to be, and now I understand what I want to do, and that's part of the reason why I'm interviewing you. It's like I'm talking to all the Vimeo, I'm trying to talk to as many as I can. Not too many of them are reaching back, but it's all about collaboration from here on out.
Yeah,
it's like I have so much respect for everyone that won those awards, and everyone's different, and just, man, it'd be great someday to bring all this talent together to do something fun.
We should try at least like some sort of web project or some sort of something that can exist online, even if it's just a winner's site with all the winners. Some way to that'd be really cool.
I talked to Ted Tremper. He's down. He won back in 2010. Same with Gabriel Bisset-Smith. Those guys, are open to collaborate, and I'm sure, everyone I've talked to or will talk to, hopefully, will be down, and we just have to come up with something. Yeah,
something cool to do. Maybe we can make our own Vimeo channel.
And those guys, they did it right. They know what they're doing.
They're really, really good. Yeah, it was really, I mean, it's definitely the better sort of festival in the sense of how much they really tried to do for us as, people that won, because usually you just win something and you go home. that's it. Yeah, at least we had 3 days of really them trying to push us to meet people, to talk to them, I think it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and all those. You what?
Did I miss it? I'm gonna sleep with my Vimeo Award tonight. Put it in the bed.
That was cool. Thanks, Bruno. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent Freaks. Bruno's diverse artistic journey exemplifies the fusion of technology and creativity, pushing the boundaries of visual and experimental art. His work continues to inspire and challenge perceptions across various mediums. To explore more of Bruno's creations, you can visit his website at brunolevytattoo.com. You can also follow him on Vimeo at vimeo.com/Bruno Levy to view his latest video works. I'll have all the links for him in the description of the podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. And if you want to know what I've been up to, you can check out my stuff at talentfreaks.com, where you can see some of my videos as well as some of my photography that I've been working on the last few years. And if you have suggestions for future guests or topics, feel free to reach out. I'm always eager to bring new and exciting conversations to the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.